It's a second line day. In gate 24, we have the second line of recognition. Ra said that this second line is one of the very special second lines of all the 64. The exaltation, the proper and spontaneous adaptation to new forms, the potential gift of conceptualizing spontaneously. Our picture of the second line being is that they don't know that there's anything to know. They will deal with what they need to know in life, but they're not really out there looking for stuff in that sense. Recognition. This is a word that can give us a deep sense of what a second line is, because of course a second line is very visible. Everyone you meet who has a second line, that it's like them having a big window into themselves, and it's what we see in them. Now, this is where we look in and we recognize something about them, and then that's where we can call them out. So people see the 24-2 and they see a thinker. This is what they're looking at through this window. They don't necessarily know what the 24-2 is thinking about, but they can see that they're a thinker. They know that they're a knower. So there's a recognition there. In the detriment, we have the vanity to see transformation as a personal achievement rather than a socially supported or natural phenomenon. The mental vanity that such a gift can produce. So this is something that only comes out when these people are called out. And it's a classic example of the second line, really. The exalted is usually about being left alone a little bit, and the detriment is what happens when you get called out. I mean, it doesn't mean that the exalted will never get called out, but it will probably be called out a lot less. And it will tend to be called out after a mutation has taken place. The difficulty for the detriment is that it's placed under pressure. And the moment someone calls it out, it resists because it doesn't want to lose its individuality. It doesn't want to give credit to whoever saw something in them, recognized something in them, and then called them out for it. You sort of imagine a research assistant who's done some amazing work and finishes a project that people have been talking about for years and years, and then they get a little tiny credit at the bottom, if they get any credit at all, because they don't, whoever it is, they don't want to give credit to somebody else. And it's grounded in the earth by the 44-2, which is called management. This is the second line who is able to work with others, able to manage others, but it has to be called out to be correct. There's no other way. Otherwise, it becomes something a little bit heavy-handed. But people might say to them, "Oh, you can handle this person. You're so good with people. Could you talk to them?" This is something that the 44-2 can often hear. Remember, the 44 has this whole feeling of being the personnel manager around it. This is part of the energy that it carries. And this is certainly a recognition. So you can see how it feeds in with this 24-2 as well. It's a projected gate. Again, recognition is necessary for the projected gates. So that's nice. So these second lines are certainly supporting each other, it seems. Mars goes into gate 25 at 5 minutes past 10 this morning. Mars is our 12-year-old, is kicking cans, causing mischief, immature, possibly on a path to maturity, who knows? But in gate 25, where we already have Neptune hanging out, and that means we won't really be aware of the influence that Mars is bringing over the next few days as it transits through this gate of innocence. The moon is still focused on gate 10 at the moment, so we have the channel of perfected form for a little while until 1741, and then the moon moves into gate 58 in the root center. This is the gate of vitality. It's the joy and the zest for life, and it derives great pleasure in being alive and, well, just being actually in this world. It's a gate that has the fuel to challenge authority, to correct any condition that it perceives to be keeping our society from experiencing well-being as we move forward into the future. Very necessary energy, really, isn't it? And the final gate in today's weather report is gate 38, also in the root center, of course, and it transits in at 3:52 tomorrow morning. This is the gate of the fighter, and it's an individual gate that will fight to preserve its integrity through opposition, really, to detrimental forces. This is a stubborn gate. It's a deaf gate. It's a natural warrior. It's always ready to stand up for its independence, fighting against the odds to find value and purpose in life. So that's our weather for today. Thank you for watching. How are these transits landing with you? Are you noticing any of these energies as you sit with them, as they pass through? When it's your exploration, it's your journey, your experiment. I hope you're finding value here on your journey, and I'd love to hear about your comments. I'd like to read your comments even. Must be time for tea. I'm off. See you tomorrow.